What I wanted to share with y'all that I hadn't shared before is the location of Sodom and Gomorrah as we began to talk about this. So I'm going to actually share the other screen with y'all here.
Oh, maybe that's the difference.
The Can y'all see the map now?
Nope, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
The map is clear.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's very cool.
The map now this is a map of Palestine, obviously. And this is actually a map from the time of when Joshua was about to enter the promised land, but it's also relatively accurate from 4000 BC. So a lot of the places are the same. And for our purposes tonight, the places we're going to look at are the same. It's believed that Sodom and Gomorrah, although obviously they were destroyed, so they don't exist anymore, it's believed that they were here where I have my mouse down here in at the edge of Edom in the corner up here next to the Dead Sea. Uh, that's where Sodom and Gomorrah is believed to have been.
Oh,
Because this,
interesting. Okay, now that I hadn't ever heard before.
yes,
Of,
and
of the
and
Dead Sea.
do what, Joyce?
I said, okay, now that's a fact I had never heard.
Yeah, it's believed to have been down here, and what we're going to find out later, and we'll mention that at that point. But what we're going to find out later is after all of this has taken place and Sodom and Gomorrah has been destroyed, Abraham, after that, we find it says that he moved to Kadesh. Kadesh, we think about it as like, oh, he moved across the field, but Kadesh is a pretty good ways down here. It's
Yeah, it's all
almost,
the way down at the bottom.
Oh,
yes, way
wow.
down at the bottom.
Where is it?
It's
At the
actually
bottom.
here at the
See,
bottom
Oh, at
here,
the bottom.
Kadesh Barnea.
Okay, right near Egypt. Yes.
Yeah,
That's like
he
base of travel, right?
Oh,
he actually moved there in the last chapter that we're going to read tonight, where he's where Abimelech and he encounters all of that, and it's in the scripture, it looks like, oh, Abraham moved to Kadesh. Well, I've always thought, well, hey, it wasn't very far, but it's pretty good piece. Pretty far down
okay, so
there.
it's not Lot that moved there.
No. Uh, it was,
Okay.
yeah, it was,
Abraham.
Abraham. Keep in mind too, one thing I wanted to stress tonight was, and y'all know this, but, it's good to remind ourselves of the fact that Abraham, these are nomads, but they're not nomads in the sense of like gypsies. Gypsies, we think about gypsies as being like just moving around from place to place, panhandling and all that stuff. They were nomads only because they moved from place to place and lived in tents, but they were extremely wealthy. Abraham was a chieftain, really. He was a considered to be a leader in the community wherever he went. In fact, to get an audience with Pharaoh like he did before would have implied that he was a pretty influential person. Even though they moved from place to place, they had a really, and they still have it in the Far East, but they had a very, and this comes into play later on when we talk about Isaac and Jacob, Jacob and Esau and all of that. They had a very structured family system, and the eldest son was held in high regard, and also the patriarch of the family, who Abraham was the patriarch of his family once his father died. The patriarch of the family, they had control over everybody. Even when the sons got married and they started their own lives, the father basically controlled, the patriarch basically controlled everything that everybody did. Uh, Sometimes I think when we read that, we tend to think that a lot of their cultural norms were like ours, but they were not. Uh, anyway, I wanted to share that with y'all because Sodom is down here, and Abraham actually was up in this area here. uh, and Lot obviously settled here. So when the angels left, they left from down somewhere in around in here, close to Hebron, and they made their way down to Sodom and Gommorah. So that's where we're actually starting tonight. Can y'all see me better now or no?
No,
No.
No?
I've got a question for you. You know,
Okay.
the Bedouins are very nomadic. They move all the time across the desert. Are you familiar with them?
They what?
The Bedouins. They're the Arab. They're Arab people. They're in
No.
Israel.
I mean, I've heard the term before, but I'm not very familiar with them
Oh,
specifically as a people.
E-D-I-M.
Oh.
they're related to the Tabalians and the Charians.
Okay, that now see
Oh,
you
he's
lost me
teasing
there.
you. Bedouins, and he says they're related to the Tables and the Charians.
Okay. No, I don't know anything about them, but they're are they supposed to be the descendants of Ishmael, or what is because I know a lot of the Muslim people are supposed to be descended from Ishmael. Are these are these people y'all talking about? Are they
They
descendants?
probably are. They're
Okay.
probably descendants. I would say they're probably descendants of the Arabs. So, or Ishmael, whatever, rather than the Jew, because they don't believe like the Jewish people.
Okay. And they're still there though, right? I mean, they're still there, and they're still nomadic as far as moving from place to place.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
We knew one while we were there. He was very good with the animals.
Mm-hmm.
He was a park ranger.
Okay. Uh, but I'm curious to know because this is all a part of this study too. Are they? You said he was a park ranger, which implies probably that he had to stay in the same place. Did they move? Are they continuing to move across the
He had
country?
relatives that did. He stayed
Okay.
in town. He stayed in the same town we were.
Okay. Okay. Uh,
They have kind of a spring place that they live, and then a place for
They
the
move where
winter.
the cows move.
They move with the animals.
okay. Got you.
I've got a definition for you here.
Here,
The
Okay.
Bedouin are a subgroup of Arabs, traditionally nomadic desert dwellers, known for pastoralism, distinct from sedentary Arabs, though both share cultural roots. The key distinction is lifestyle and history. Bedouins focus on kinship, livestock, and desert traditions, while Arab is a broader cultural linguistic term for people.
Okay. Okay. Oh, interesting. Joyce, if you will you read uh, Genesis 19 and go ahead and read verses 1 through 3, if you will.
okay. Just trying to get to 19. I'm almost there. Okay. That evening, the two angels came to the entrance of the city of Sodom. Lot was sitting there, and when he saw them, he stood up to meet them. Then he welcomed them and bowed with his face to the ground. My lords, he said, come to my house to wash your feet and be my guests for the night. You may then get up early in the morning and be on your way again. Now that was through.
Keep going.
Oh, okay. Oh, no, they replied. We'll just spend the night out here in the city square. But Lot insisted, so at last they went home with him, and Lot prepared a feast for them, complete with fresh bread made without yeast, and they ate. And
Okay.
before they
Oh, that's it.
retired for the okay,
That's it.
that was
three. You're
through
done.
3.
Yeah.
That's it.
So we find that the angels arrive. Does it look like that Lot knew that they were special visitors? And when I say special visitors, does it look like he knew they possibly were
Yes,
heavenly visitors? Yes.
yes, because he bowed down.
He showed a lot of respect for him.
Yeah.
Yes.
She called them my lords.
Right. And he also served them unleavened bread and stuff too. And he talked about
But
them having, huh?
you understand that culture over there, they are extremely hospitable.
Oh,
We're
Yes.
total strangers. We went to an Arab town, and that night I ate 3 meals. Not because I wanted to, but because it was required of me.
that's
So,
Man,
yeah, you got that.
I would. I'm picky about what I eat, so I would have been in a mess,
he
Joyce.
would
But
have,
anyway,
he would have been in a lot of
oh
trouble this year.
yeah, I would have been in some trouble probably. But
But
that
but
it,
in other words, if they saw somebody out on the street that
Was not from their village or town.
was not from their village or town, they would be inviting them.
Wow.
Right.
Not so much today. But we were treated that way because we were Americans and we were a novelty in our town.
The reason we were treated that way was because the Bedouin had married an English lady, a lady from England. So she knew us. He and she both spoke English very clearly and well. So we were familiar to them. They didn't run into English speakers that often in their normal routine. But when she went to the town to sup with them, to eat dinner with them, Joyce heard something squalling outside. And she says, "What's that?" And the lady says, "Well, don't look behind you, but that's dinner tonight." And it was a goat or something that they were skinning or dealing with.
Fresh.
Oh my.
Yeah, real fresh.
Wow.
So we talked.
Man, that's
Yeah,
elaborate.
talking about fresh. We used to have a hard time eating fish sometimes when we cleaned them. Right
Yeah,
after we cleaned them and stuff. So I imagine if you kill a goat out in your yard and you bring it in immediately and cook it, I can only imagine.
it's like dinner on the hoof.
Right, right. Oh, so we find out that the angels come and Lot is very gracious to them, and he seems, and this is something that I want us to think about. It seems that he was so used to all of the degradation, and he got so used to living amongst all of those people who lived horrific lives. Obviously, we're going to find out that he he was sort of oblivious to the fact that they were like walking up into that. As far as I mean, he was hospitable to them, but he didn't show any reluctances or anything. Normally, if we're getting a divine visitor and we're living amongst a situation that we wish we were not in, it probably would have been a lot of discomfort. And the discomfort started coming when they said, "We're going to sleep outside." And he told them, "No, no, no, y'all need to come on in." Do you think that was because of hospitality or something else?
Oh, to protect them.
Okay, to protect them. Uh, and go ahead, Michelle, you or John, read chapter 19, verses 4 through 11.
4 to 11.
Chapter 19, verse 4 through 11.
Okay, now before they lay down, the men of the city, the men of Sodom, both old and young, all the people from every quarter surrounded the house. And they called to Lot and said to him, "Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us that we may know them carnally." So Lot went out to them through the doorway, shut the door behind him, and said, "Please, my brother, do not do so wickedly. See now, I have 2 daughters who have not known a man. Please let me bring them out to you, and you may do to them as you wish. Only do nothing to this man, since this is the reason they have come under the shadow of my roof." And they said, "Stand back." Then they said, "This one came in to stay here, and he keeps acting as a judge. Now we will deal worse with you than with them." So they pressed hard against the man, Lot, and came near to break down the door. But the men reached out their hands and pulled Lot into the house with them and shut the door. And they struck the men who were at the doorway of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they became weary trying to find the door.
Okay. What y'all think about that? I mean,
My
that's
goodness.
pretty graphic.
Nasty people.
Man,
Very, very nasty people. So they were wanting to have their way with them, the men of the city, both
yeah.
young and old, it says. So it wasn't just a select few horrible people. It was the whole lot. I mean, no pun intended, the whole lot. Uh,
They wanted
they
to
were
have like
all
an orgy,
yeah, they were
right?
all horrible. They were all horrible. And you know, the mere fact, uh, one thing about him, and that's one thing we need to know about, and Lot, obviously, what is the primary reason? Let me ask this, and what I want to know what y'all think. What's the primary reason that Lot's getting delivered?
Because Abraham prayed for him.
Okay. The intercession of Abraham and the intervention of Abraham. It is noteworthy, though, that Lot did have uh, he did have some morality and some training, because he 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 wanted to protect those visitors at all cost, and it's kind of astounding that it was so bad, and he knew that those people intended to do what they say. What did he offer instead of the two angels?
His daughters.
His two
His
daughters.
virgin daughters.
Yes. And they obviously at that point got angry, and then they said, "Who are you? You come here. You're not even from our area, or you're not even from here. And here you are telling us all what to do." And they snatched him and pressed him up against the door, basically, and probably would have killed him if the angels hadn't snatched him back in. Uh, but it's astounding to me, the level of depravity. Keep in mind, we read a few weeks ago about Noah and the ark and God destroying the earth because of the wickedness of man. We find here that although years have passed, it didn't take very long for the wickedness of man to become prevalent again in the land. And we find that here. Uh, if you will, read verses 12 through 14, Joyce. And if you want to,
Meanwhile, the angels.
go ahead and read 12 through 23, and we'll all talk about that too.
Okay. Meanwhile, the angels question Lot, "Do you have any other relatives here in the city?" They ask. "Get them out of this place, your sons-in-law, sons, daughters, or anyone else, for we all are about to destroy this city completely. The outcry against this place is so great, it has reached the Lord, and he has sent us to destroy it." So Lot rushed out to tell his daughters, fiancés, "Quick, get out of the city. The Lord is about to destroy it." But the young men thought he was only joking. At dawn the next morning, the angels became insistent. "Hurry," they said to Lot. "Take your wife and your daughters who are here. Get out right now, or you will be swept away in the destruction of the city." When Lot still hesitated, the angels seized his hand and the hands of his wife and two daughters and rushed them into safety outside the city. For the Lord was merciful. When they were safely out of the city, one of the angels ordered, "Run for your lives and don't look back or stop anywhere in the valley. Escape to the mountains or you will be swept away." "Oh, no, my lord," Lot begged. "You have been so gracious to me and saved my life, and you have shown such great kindness, but I cannot go to the mountains. Disaster would catch up to me there, and I would soon die. See, there is a small village nearby." Now, see, this I didn't remember. That what I just read, a small village nearby, and he asked if he could go there.
It must
Please
have been.
let me
Oh,
go
go
there.
ahead. I'm sorry, Joyce. Go ahead. I know
Please let
you're
me
not
go
done.
there instead. Don't you see how small it is? Then my life will be saved. All right, the angel said, "I will grant your request and I will not destroy the little village. But hurry, so escape to it, for I can do nothing until you arrive there." This explained why this excuse me,
Oh, bless you.
village was known as Zor, which means little place.
Okay.
And Lot, I think, is that what you wanted me to end?
Yeah, right there. Uh, and I had forgotten about this little detail too about them. Instead of fleeing to the mountains, they fled to the little city of Zor. We find out later, and I'll just mention it here because we might not mention it again, but we find out later that Zor must have been a wicked city too, even though God spared it because uh, he asked them, "Hey, I can't flee to the mountains. I'm afraid." But when he went to Zor, he didn't stay there long because he said he was afraid. So he and his daughters eventually went to the mountains because they were fearful to stay in Zor. But it's fortunate for us that Zor. I think this is a principle that or something that we need to think about sometimes because God is sovereign. Zor actually avoided destruction because Lot asked to go there to be safe temporarily. And so it didn't get destroyed with the rest of the plain, although we find out later that it probably was wicked enough that he didn't want to stay uh, there anymore. Uh, and what do we find happening with the word? And I won't read, you read this, so I won't go through all of it, but just to say where it says that the angel seized Lot and his daughters, the word there is a strong Hebrew word that means to grab and forcefully make go or to forcefully grab. So they were all hesitant to leave, and the angels grabbed them and told them to go. And what else did they tell them that you read?
Well, let me see.
Well, wait a minute, we ain't got to that yet, but I'm sorry, I keep jumping ahead. Uh but Lot, he I mean, it was serious. I mean, God was going to rain down fire and brimstone on that. And a lot of scholars have said, well, it must have been a volcano and all that stuff. God is not a, I mean, God could have just miraculously sent fire down from heaven and destroyed it. It didn't have to be some sort of natural occurrence that God made to happen at that particular time. Uh, but he destroyed the city, and for them to escape, they had to get out. What about the sons-in-laws? You mentioned this last week, Joyce, but what did you say about them that they were they agreeable to leaving with daughters?
No, and it really makes you wonder because they, if you think, didn't they love those two daughters? They'd want to be part of what, being with them and living and doing what they were doing, but whatever
You know,
reason they did.
it sounds like they didn't have the morality to have the commitment. They probably, it sounds like, because they weren't considered right? It sounds like that they were doing what all the other men in that area were doing. And if they did, they probably didn't have any type of commitment level to anything. And it also says something about Lot, because they didn't even respect him enough. When he told them, hey, the Lord's going to destroy the city, what did they do?
Oh, they thought it was a joke. They just pushed him
Okay.
off from that.
They
So
thought he was joking.
yeah,
So
they didn't take him seriously.
that's one thing about us too. I think it's a lesson for us. It's hard for those around us who we can influence to take us seriously about God if we never mention God, but only in a crisis. In other words, if there's a crisis and that's the only time we bring God up, or bring up that the fact that God's going to do something, and we need, if that's the only time we bring it up, is our witness going to be effective?
No.
Okay. No.
But the other thing in all of this, not only did the potential sons ignore what he said, but he didn't really take God seriously about it, I don't think, because it says, but while he lingered, the men seized him and his wife and the two
Right.
daughters by the hand. So he was not taking it real serious either.
Right. You're right, John. In fact, what we said earlier, probably the only reason that Lot was salvaged with those two daughters was because of Abraham. Because he didn't really have enough faith in God to know how powerful he was or how just he was. And like you said, he just didn't take it seriously. They had to force him to leave, basically.
But see, the daughters were in the right place at the right time. If they had been out doing something else, they probably wouldn't have come either.
You're right.
It's because they were
That's a
grabbed
good
by
point.
the angels and pulled
That's a
along
good
with his
point.
wife.
Had they laughed and taken the side of their husbands, they probably would have been destroyed as well. And it would have been only, my goodness, it would have been only Lot. He would have lost his entire family. And no one would have been left. Okay, verses uh 24 through 29. Michelle, would you like to read that?
Okay. Then the Lord rained brimstone and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah from the Lord out of the heavens. So he overthrew those cities, all the plain, all the inhabitants of the cities, and what grew on the ground. But his wife looked back behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. And Abraham went early in the morning to the place where he had stood before the Lord. Then he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah and toward all the land of the plain. And he saw, and behold, the smoke of a furnace. And it came to pass, when God destroyed the cities of the plain, that God remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in which Lot had dwelt.
So what John just mentioned is true in verse 29. God said he remembered Abraham, and that's why Lot was delivered.
That's
Was
what he
because
said, Lot.
huh? I'm sorry. What?
No, I was just repeating.
Oh, okay.
She said Lot was delivered.
Oh yeah. Lot was delivered because of Abraham. And what happened to his wife?
She became a pillar of salt.
She didn't make it.
She didn't make it.
Okay. Okay. That's a good way to put it, Joyce. She didn't
Her
make it.
warranty ran out.
Yeah. Yeah. And she wasn't covered under the fire rider either.
That's right. No.
So she that I want to share this with you as we go over this part of the outline, because this is something that's really telling about this whole idea about Lot's wife looking back. God doesn't want us, and Michelle tells me this often, and it's true. God doesn't want us looking back or to stay, and Pastor Jonathan's talked about this before too. I've heard him preach on this before. God doesn't want us so caught up in the past that we're not looking forward to the future. And she looked back. In fact, even as bad as it was, to the point where I'm sure every time they went out of the house, they probably had to worry about being raped. But when people live like that, it becomes the norm for them, and change is sometimes difficult, probably even in these circumstances. So she looked back, and the Bible clearly says she became a pillar of salt. I had somebody ask me before, well, I mean, how can somebody become a pillar of salt? Well, she did. Uh, and because she looked back, uh, it lets us know that God's serious about disobedience. Even though God provided a way of deliverance for Lot and his entire family, uh, he still uh, he allowed them to make decisions. And when she made the decision to look back, she lost her life, which not only
Maybe it makes
affected,
me think about something.
huh? What?
It makes me think about the fact that her heart was in that place. If
Right.
I was in a place like that, I would have been desperate to get out. And she was not happy to leave. She was not happy to get out. She was kind of like contemplating or feeling bad that she was leaving that place. Why would she look back?
Maybe her family was there.
No, she was leaving everything that she ever had,
Yeah.
probably.
You
You
know,
know,
we had
so
oh, go
her
ahead, Joyce. I'm
things
sorry.
were more important than her own life, I guess.
Like her belongings?
Mhm.
You remember the message a few weeks ago that I believe Pastor PJ preached that Sunday, where it talks about the lady. Not everybody that's sick wants to get well. Uh,
Right.
when people are used to living in something and they adapt to it, even if it's unhealthy, they still got to change
Yeah.
their life if they're going to live any differently. And some people choose not to. That's why Jesus asked the question, "What would you have me to do for you?" And the obvious was, well, she needed healing, but not everybody that's sick wants to get well. And obviously Lot's wife didn't, as y'all said, she didn't want a new life enough to not be caught up and trying to look back at the old. And because of that, her life was taken. Did that just affect her, or did that affect other people?
Well, it definitely affected her family, I believe.
Okay.
A mother is normally considered pretty special in the family, especially to the children and, well, even to the husband. But, you know, they didn't have her anymore. And it
Right.
was probably a reminder then, every time they thought of her not being around, hey, we better do what God wants us to do.
Right. Right. So it affected the entire family. So Lot all of a sudden is alone. He has no wife. He just has his two daughters. Uh, and things are going to get progressively worse, because when sin occurs in somebody influential's life, particularly in the lives of sometimes uh, parents, grandparents, that type of thing, the results of that sin sometimes reach across generations. And we're going to find that uh, her sin actually reached, and we're going to find that they had, y'all know this, but she had children by their father, because it wasn't as if, and as I was reading that again, I was thinking, and I know we're going to read that in a little bit, but I'm jumping the gun a little bit. because I know y'all have already read it. But when I was reading it, I was thinking to myself, their dad wasn't the only one around. I mean, there were, I mean, I know they were living in the mountains at that point, but there were other men around. It wasn't as if, but they got desperate, took matters into their own hands because they didn't want to be desolate and without children. So they got their father, y'all know this, they got the father drunk, got Lot drunk, and each of them slept with him. He didn't even know anything about it because they got him so drunk he didn't remember it. Uh, and they became the ancestors of Ammon, uh, and Ben.
Ammonites?
Yes, uh, Ammon and Moab were the two nations that were started by the children of these two daughters. And it was from incest that they actually had their children because uh, they again, like just like Sarah and Abraham, they took matters into their own hands in such a way that it resulted in a problem. Uh, and so we find that that occurs with them.
Now,
Uh,
was Lot the nephew of Abraham?
yes, he was
Okay.
his brother's son.
Okay.
And his brother had died in Ur before they ever got to Ur of the Chaldees. I think the brother died when they were back in Ur of the Chaldees. The brother died. He didn't even go with them to Iran. Abram was kind of. It seems like from the way that and again, we can look back at this later, but it seems like, Joyce, from everything I've read, it seems like Abram, his father, uh, initially, but he died in Ur. But Abraham was like the guardian of Lot. He was like Lot was his nephew, but he was really in many ways like a surrogate son to him. He kind of by default was the one that took care of him, I think. But he was his nephew. The
Looks like
uh,
it runs in the family. Let's take things out in our own hands. If God, but God didn't necessarily promise anything to Lot's family. It's only Abraham. But
it well
still,
well yeah but Lot was considered to be a part of Abraham's family. He wasn't his direct like sons or daughters, but he was considered to be, a part of his family. In fact, God honored that because, and Abraham did too, because remember, before Lot got in some trouble when he was living in Sodom and a king come by. Remember it's kind of an interlude between all this that happens with Ishmael and Hagar and all of that. But these kings got together and battled these other kings. They beat them. They beat them, or they were better read than dead. They captured them, and they captured Lot. And Abraham obviously not only was a leader in his family, but also could muster an army. So he took a lot of his servants and everything, and they went and got Lot back. So we find Lot being delivered several times because of his association with Abraham. He was actually a part of Abraham's family and was significantly blessed because of that. Remember, not only did Abraham get rich when they went to Egypt, Lot did too. And that's why they separated, because there were so many cattle and so much livestock and wealth between the two. They couldn't live in the same area. I always think about it's like two Texans living on 1,000 acre uh, ranches. I mean, they just couldn't exist together. It was too big. Uh, but the
Well, I've
next,
got a question.
okay,
Do you think Lot ever figured out what was going on?
with
Because
who?
all of a sudden he's up in the cave, and a couple of months later, both his daughters are pregnant. So,
I think this is that's a good point,
Good
John. I hadn't thought
question.
about that a lot, but What y'all think? What y'all think, Michelle and Joyce? And then I'll tell him what I think.
Um,
He knows the babies didn't come out of air. So he
I don't
knows.
know if they kept it secret. I don't know if they were able to keep it secret. I don't know.
Nope.
I'm not sure they mention Lot again.
Lot's
I'm
never
looking
mentioned. I
ahead
don't think.
in several of the chapters. They,
I don't think he's mentioned again. I don't. I may be wrong about that, but we'll look. But I don't think Lot's mentioned again in Scripture. But I do believe, John, that he knew, but he didn't know then. I think he found out later. And I think that my suspicion is that because Lot had been subjected, and all of them had been subjected so long to that incestuous environment that they lived in, that it probably didn't affect him the way it would have someone who, say, lived in Abraham's camp, because uh, even though it was his daughters, uh, we're going to find out later, and this is we're going to find out later that Sarah was actually Abraham's half sister. I mean, I don't know if y'all
Oh,
knew
really?
that or not. She
Yeah.
was.
yeah,
So he
Yeah.
sort of half lied when he told the king that
Yeah.
she was his sister.
She was his half sister. They had the same father.
they
Uh,
both had the same what father,
yeah. They
different
both had the
mothers.
same father, I believe, and because of
Yeah,
that,
Different mother.
what I'm saying is, in those times, it was not uncommon to have a close relative, but obviously not a father. Uh, I'm going to tell y'all something though. People can be conditioned into anything, and I'll tell you how I know that. I used to do counseling. My job was to do counseling with the Department of Family and Children's Services in Georgia, which is, I don't know what they call it in Florida, but it's
probably
the
the same thing.
yeah, anyway, I was a contracted and counselor for them, doing counseling people that with substance abuse issues and with other types of what we call deviancies. But anyway, there was this family in South Georgia that lived way out in the country, but it wasn't like so isolated that they didn't have contact with anybody. But all of the kids were incestuous with all the other kids, and the parents were
Oh,
incestuous with all the kids.
oh my
But the unique thing about it was it had been that way for them, and I think generationally it had been that way for the parents, and that was what they were exposed to. So over time, they normalized that. It wasn't like it was something they were ashamed of, and it wasn't like it was something that
Wow.
sin and that type of thing, and that abhorrent behavior and that type of thing. It can be normalized. That's why it's so important that a person's heart is changed and that God works in their life, because man honestly can normalize anything if he's exposed to it enough. Like cannibals, for instance, people eating people. Some people would eat people only if they were in such a desperate situation that they had no other source. But some people hunt people to eat them. There are a few tribes left that do that. But my point is, Lot was conditioned. His girls were conditioned. And that should tell us something else too. It is very important that we condition those around us and that we train them and to be around good things, because the more they are around evil things, the more influenced they are by the evil. Anyway, I didn't mean to get into all that, but I found that unique. I refused to counsel that family because I told the people that I said I really have no I don't know what to do with them. I mean,
boundaries.
there's no ground to stand on. There's no
No,
shame. There's
no.
no guilt. There's
They're not
no
embarrassed. They
anything.
don't
It's
think there's
just
nothing wrong with it.
and it's
Their
to them.
conscience, their
Right,
conscience is gone. It's been seared.
right.
It's just not there.
It's
No.
just not there. So we find here that Lot. I took the long route to say it, John, but I do believe that Lot knew later, but I don't know that it mattered as much as it would have had he been conditioned in a different environment and had he made a commitment to follow God like Abraham did.
But
My guess,
obviously he wasn't complicit in it because they had to make him drunk.
right.
Right.
But the
Yeah,
mere
exactly.
fact that, normally, even if he wasn't complicit in it, if a father found out that the daughters, even if they'd been evil, had got him drunk, it would probably devastate. I know it would devastate psychologically to the point like I mean I can't even bear to even conceptualize that. And I think maybe he was able to live with it because of and embrace it possibly because of his environment. But anyway, that's just an opinion. That's not the Bible. But anyway, we're
Mhm.
talking about these things because these were real people with real, you know, and their life didn't just end with what we have written down here. There were, supposedly Lot's life continued on. We're not told any more about him, but my guess is he probably got involved in some other shady stuff later on, possibly because keep in mind, Abraham is he moves to Gerar and moves down to Kadesh Barnea, and because of that, he's not in the same area that Lot is anymore. He moved further away from it. Chapter 20, we got to zip through here. Uh, Let me ask y'all something. Y'all want to wait till next time before we start this chapter? Or you want to
Yes.
just